folks, welcome to Myers Metal Detectors, located in sunny Tampa, Florida, where we sell nothing but fun and adventures, treasure hunting gear, and anything you can imagine for metal detecting. Give us a call, 813-237-1939. Happy hunting and dig deeper.
Live from sunny Florida, it's Treasure Talk.
There we go, and now we're live, huh, Jeff?
We are live and kicking.
Okay, friends, welcome to today's Treasure Talk show, and we're about to get started here, so I get to read the disclaimer. Today's show is brought to you by your friends at Myers Metal Detectors, where we not only sell fun, but we sell adventure. And the views, thoughts, and opinions expressed here by your Treasure Talk guests and members belong solely to the guests and members and not necessarily to Phil Myers, Jocelyn Myers, Jeff Monin, or Myers Metal Detectors. And today's show is going to be an exciting one, and it falls right into our purpose. And the purpose of Treasure Talk is to promote the hobby of metal detecting, treasure hunting, and educate our members in a fun, informative manner, and I'm hoping to do that today, educate the members with our guests. So go ahead, Jeff. I'm going to turn it over to you, my friend.
Okay, hey everybody. Kind of a chilly day today here in North Florida. It's only about 73 or 74, but I think spring is busting out all over. I'm busting out all over, except it's the seams on my pants, but what are you going to do? But we got a great guest for you tonight. If you've watched YouTube at all, which most of you have, I think, you've seen him. His name is Jeff PLUGMASTER FORD. So with a name like Jeff, you know he's got to be a great detectorist. There's no getting around that. So he is our guest tonight, and you've watched him on YouTube. He's traveled all over the world, but he and his compadre, Missouri Mike, generally are good yard hunters. They find a lot of really good stuff. So without any much further ado, we're going to bring on Jeff PLUGMASTER FORD. So everybody, let's welcome PLUGMASTER FORD.
I think Mike was supposed to be clapping right then, wasn't he?
Yeah, there we go.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
you never know about Mikey.
Yeah, right on cue. How are you guys doing tonight?
We're doing great. Welcome
Thank
to
you.
Treasure Talk. And we've got a load of questions for you. So I guess I'm going to get started right now. Is that okay, Jeff?
That's fine. My wife always tells me I'm full of it. I always assume she's talking about answers. So go ahead and ask the questions.
Okay. So I'm going to have to refer to Jeff and then Jeff Ford because I got two Jeffs on here today. So well, I'm going to go ahead and get started with some questions. One, how long have you been metal detecting?
Seriously, for I think what are we at? Almost 7 years, 6 years, 6.5 years. My dad actually got me started back in the 70s a little bit. Funny story. My mom worked for Lowrance Electronics, and they had a big company picnic one time, and they provided metal detectors for everyone, and they buried coins throughout the cracked Oklahoma dirt. And so every time you found a coin, of course, we ran to our parents. They gave us $2. We took it up, and they told us what we won, which most of the time was a 6-pack of Coke. And so after a while, my dad said, okay, boys, we've spent enough, and it was time to quit. And as we're sitting there talking, as we're walking out, I looked down, and in the crack of the dirt, I could see the edge of one of these coins or tokens. And I looked at my brother, and I kind of went, motioned down, and he snatches it up real quick and says, Dad, just one more. And of course, I chimed in as well, and he said, all right, gave the $2, and my brother goes up there, and my parents are still talking with other people, and all of a sudden over the PA we hear, we have a grand prize winner of the Honda mini bike. And so my brother's up there jumping up and down, and so that kind of got, gave us the fever for it then. And I've never, since then I've always had a metal detector. Haven't really gotten into it a whole lot, but it was probably about 6 or 7 years ago. probably 7 years ago that I got back into it and realized, you know what, I enjoy this, and now, because I can drive, I can go places. So that's kind of what that's kind of what really drove it. Like, man, I can go all these places and hunt everywhere. So, but that's kind of how I've gotten back into it.
Oh, awesome. So,
Cool.
so just a few little items here. I had wrote down, you have 7 kids?
I have 7. Yeah, my oldest is 27, and my youngest is 7.
Now, do
When do
they
you find time to detect?
Mondays are my day. We count it as a work day in our family, and so I never get asked to do anything on Mondays. And so today, Mike and I have been out. We kind of got a late start because he had a doctor's visit this morning, but we still got on a couple permissions and wrapped it up a little bit early to get back here.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that was the question I was going to ask, is how you find time. But Jeff had beat me to it. With 7 kids now, do your kids hunt with you ever?
They have before, like in some of my early episodes. Drake, he's 17 now, he wasn't 17 back then. He would go out with me. In fact, a funny story, in episode 3, my third ever episode, I took Drake, and before we went the night before, I told him, I said, make sure you got fresh batteries. He was swinging the AT Pro, and he said, oh yeah, Dad, they're fresh. I said, okay. So we get there was 2 houses that I really wanted to take him to, and neither one of them were home. And he looked across the street and he said, well, Dad, those folks are home, and that's an old house. And I was like, yeah, it is. It's not kind of the yard we'd hunt, but yeah, let's go ahead. So I go over there and talk to him, and they said, yeah, go ahead. So I told Drake, I said, we'll split the yard in half. You pick your side. He took the far side. And we were probably 5 minutes into the yard, and he walks over with his head down. He said, Dad, my batteries have died. And I said, oh, really? Yeah. And I said, well, we got 2 options. We can run up to the gas station real quick and then come back and finish the yard, or I can go ahead and finish it and then we'll go get batteries. And he said, yeah, let's do that. So my next target, which happened to be on his side, was a 1909 SBDB wheat cent. And so he missed out on the wheat penny of a lifetime because of that. But we shared, and it was so fun. So yeah, they do like to go. Daddy goes a little bit too long for them. I never thought the old man would outlast the kids, but they're not into all day hunting. They'd be good after 1 yard.
Well, Jeff, it's like this when you get old, especially when you're old like me, it doesn't take a lot to amuse you. So
Yeah.
with kids, their brains are working at twice the capacity of ours. So it takes more to keep them on track and amused. It doesn't take much for me. I can see a car go by and go, oh, look at the tires going
Yeah,
around.
exactly.
That's good for 20 minutes.
Yep.
If you can see them, right, Jeff?
If I can
Exactly.
see it, but most of the time I can't. So let me ask one question here, Phil. I know
Right ahead. Jump
everybody
in.
wants to know. Everybody wants to know. Give us an update on Mikey and have him put his smiley face on camera so everybody can see he's doing good.
I'll put him on there. Here, you stay there, Mikey. There's the legend.
Yep, I'm good. I'm better every day. I'm getting better every day. Had a seizure the other time here a couple days ago, and before that I had a stroke. So maybe something else will happen that will be good.
Well, maybe you'll find find a gold ring or something. That's good for
Maybe, yeah.
various things.
It's good. I've had all the prayers and everything, and I've had so many people reaching out for me. It's just unbelievable all the support that I've had. Not that I needed it, but everybody's been praying for me, and everybody's saying good stuff. So it's been great, all the support, that's for sure.
Well, we're glad that you're getting better.
Yep, I am.
Oh, my arm's about to die holding that up like that. Let me put it back. Okay. Yeah, and those of you that don't know, Mikey got COVID back before Christmas and suffered a stroke. and it did a little bit of damage in his head that caused him to have trouble with his speech. And so since then, he's really been battling back to get his speech back, which, it had gotten, really good. Well, then he got the COVID vaccine Thursday afternoon about 1 o'clock. And then Friday morning, he goes into these massive seizures. He'd gotten to work, hadn't gotten inside yet, but gotten to work, and continued to have massive seizures repeatedly. And so they, took him into the hospital, finally got him on seizure medication where they could do an MRI, which at first we were told that he had had another stroke, but that wasn't actually the case. But what we did learn from the seizures that he had, apparently it spurred something from the original stroke. And so it kind of reverted him back to square one as far as his talking was going. But he's really bounced back from that. Of course, being here with him the day after and everything like that, I can vouch for he had taken a real step backwards with his speech, but in the 4 or 5 days since, he's killed it, and his speech has gotten a lot better. He had paralysis on his right side, which again, from the seizures, they say that could have caused something, from the stroke to trigger again. He's gotten back all his use. His hands just the other day were really tingly, and he was getting more use with them. And he was commenting to me today that he feels like through all of this, that his extremities and everything is feeling better than before his stroke. And so I'm not sure what's going on there, but he feels a lot better through it all. He does have, and this is getting better as well, he was having confusion issues, I would say. And of course, I've never had a seizure, but from what I've read and spoken to doctors, that it will wipe you out for a good time afterwards. So he's on the mend. I took him digging today, and just like normal, he didn't find anything. Oh, he was a Weedy King today. He found one wheat penny. I found 0.
Oh, so you do strike out. I saw some of your videos with the with all the silver coins, and some of those videos are just awesome.
Yeah, that was a good dig. That was one to remember forever.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me ask you this before I get started. The first batch of questions were my own personal questions. You have 17,000 subscribers on YouTube then. Is that correct?
I believe so.
And how did you get started doing that?
Well, honestly, whenever I first got back into metal detecting, I was just using some of the ones that we had. We had like we had a compass, and we had I can't remember the other metal detector we had. And a buddy of mine, he had a metal detector, and he wanted to go. And I said, well, let's go. And so we went, but he had had an accident and he'd broken his femur. Well, he didn't realize at the time when he had bought this, and it was a Garrett AT Pro, he didn't realize that he wasn't going to be able to dig. And so he was like, wow, I bought this detector and I'm not even going to use it. And he asked me if I wanted to buy it. And I said, well, sure, I'll buy it. And so I started off with the AT Pro and went to digging. And of course, through that, I started watching YouTube videos like, okay, what do I need to learn about this machine? And so, of course, I was watching Hoover Boys and JD's Variety Channel. I liked the way he did his videos, and he was using the E-Track back then. And I thought, well, that E-Track seems like a really good machine. Mm-hmm. And so I went and got an E-Track, and there was a little bit of a learning curve with it, but pretty soon thereafter, I figured it out, and I started finding stuff, and that's a machine that you need to hunt slow with, and that was just fine for me because I wasn't in a hurry to get anywhere. I wanted to cover the ground that I had to hunt, and so that's kind of and of course I'm friends with John JD, and that was one thing that his videos helped me progress through the learning stages a lot quicker with that E-Track. And so after, seeing how much time that I saved, I thought, I'd like to do the same thing. And so I started, I can't remember if I had the E-Track, the first videos or not, but anyway, I soon thereafter went, well, if the E-Track's that good, the CTX must be even better. So I got another machine. I got the CTX 3030, and I started using that one. And that was one thing I wanted to do. I wanted to share, my target IDs. And sometimes I don't even think about doing it when I say it. I would just say, oh, that was a 1241, 1243. And I don't even remember saying those numbers. So a lot of times someone would ask, like Mike, when we were hunting, what'd that hit? I'd have to go back and watch the video because I wouldn't remember. I just say it because that was part of that target and that find. And so that's really what got me started. I thought, I'd like to get going on this. Another thing was that, my kids weren't going to get to go with me all the time because I did go all day. And I thought, I'd like to video it so they could at least, share in the experience with me, especially Drake and Davis, who are my 17 and 13-year-olds right now. But early on, that was one thing they really enjoyed, to see what Daddy found and to kind of experience it and be there firsthand. And so that's why I really initially started. Hey, someone's here. Never know who's going to show up at the bachelor pad in Missouri, Mike. But that's how I got started going with it. With the YouTube channel was kind of twofold. I wanted to share things, but I also wanted my kids to be able to see the hunts.
Awesome. Well, I'm just going to go ahead down the list, Jeff, and if you want to butt in and ask a question, just jump in anytime, okay?
Now, somebody from YouTube wants to know, what do you use to film?
Actually, I have been all over. So probably my favorite camera that I have used is a JVC Quad Proof, and it's the R10 model. And the reason I like it is because I can have my camera like this, and I can put that find up there, and you guys can see the detail. Unbelievable. It's a 1080p camera. It doesn't take in the light like I would like, and so the images aren't as clear as I would like. And so I stepped away from that. I had gotten a Samsung Note 5 phone that had a really upgraded camera. And so I started using that for a while, and the quality was just incredible. I didn't really care for the audio as much, but it was okay. And then JVC came out with a new quad proof, which was the RY 180, I think, and it was a 4K camera. And so I bit the bullet and bought that, thinking, hey, I can get this 4K. It had external mics. I could do all kinds of things like that with it. It's waterproof as well, so I could, film underwater when we're river hunting. But the bad thing is it did not focus very well up close. And that's kind of one of my pet peeves when I'm watching YouTube videos is, I like to be, of course I have terrible eyes anyway, but I like to be able to see what it is they found, and so I'm probably going, right now I'm using a Samsung Note 10 Plus. That's what I've been using, but it does not get me the detail that I want to see as a viewer, without really zooming in on it. And then they all have their little quirks. But that JVC, the R10 model, which I originally had, I might go back to it at some point. I've been looking around trying to find the camera that's going to give that macro close up without having to switch over to macro close up. And so when I get that one, that's the one I will use. Also that RY, the big 4K camera, is heavy as well. And so I took that to England the first time, and wow, toting that thing around was like carrying a shell from the Civil War in your pouch.
Mm-hmm.
It got old pretty quick.
All righty. Well, I'm going to start going down my list here. So Mike Mayo asked you, Jeff, what's the secret to getting so many permissions?
I actually did a video about that one time because I had a lot of people ask, and I never really thought there was a secret to it. Um, I and Mike and I, of course, we have days like today. We had my first two permissions were no's. And they weren't mean no's. It was just, yeah, I'd rather you not. And I'm okay with that. I like that answer. No, the one I don't like is, oh, I plan on hunting it later. It's like, yeah, right. You know, I don't mind the ones where they go, nah, I just rather you not do it. And I said, nah, I totally understand. And so we have days like that, but we do have good success. And I think a lot of it, and Mike can vouch for this, a lot of it is, have a positive attitude. I honestly, when I step up to that door, expect them to say yes. And if they say no, it kind of catches me off guard. And I think that has a lot to do with it. Confidence at the door.
Uh-huh.
And I covered this. I have a video that's called Increase Your Metal Detecting Permissions, where I go through everything. But, if I'm covered in dirt, uh, and I've got a clean hoodie, I always try to keep something clean in my truck. I'll put it on before I go to the next door, just try to be presentable, and I never wear camo. That's one thing I always tell people. I said, camo is for hiding things, and whether it tells the person you're hiding something, I don't know, but I just would avoid camo if I'm door knocking. So that's pretty much it. And, tell the people who you are, tell them what you're doing, and ask them if you can do it. That's pretty much it. And don't be nervous.
Yeah, just get up there and ask.
Yeah.
So
It's not against you. It's not a hit against you. They might just not want anyone in their yard. Don't take it personal. I've seen people do that and ruin their whole day because they got to know, and it's not that big a deal. I mean, if you ask me to hunt my yard, I'm going to say no, even if I didn't metal detect. I just wouldn't do it. So
yeah, you just gotta get up there and ask. Uh, my friend Joe and I had an interesting event. That I guess it was yesterday, Sunday. We were hunting a site that we had permission from, and one of the neighbors, actually two neighbors, came out and just gave us the what for about why we were there. And finally, it just put me off it. I said, "Let's go, Joe. We'll go hunt somewhere else when these folks aren't home."
yeah, I can't tell you how many times the neighbors called the police on us.
Well, that's what they were threatening to do, call the police on me.
Yeah,
Uh,
we've
I'm,
had that many times.
I'm trying to have fun. I have permission, and I don't want to be bothered by anybody. And then
Yeah.
you have somebody like that, and it just puts you off it. So you have
Oh
to
yeah.
go next.
And there's many of them out there.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. All righty. So just the secret is get out there and ask, and don't and be waiting for the positive answer, not the negative one.
Yeah, and
And
I always think of it this way: those people have no earthly idea what's under their ground. And I hope to show them some stuff. That'd be really cool. And I think a lot of people are like that. A lot of people wonder, I wonder what is under my ground. I do live in an old house, huh? And so, curiosity could help as well.
oh, absolutely. And do you ever share your finds with the property owner?
Yeah, we've given them stuff. We'll show it anytime they want. Um, it's not something I volunteer going in. I know we have some friends that do that, and but I basically ask them if they mind if we check their yard. I tell them that we're relic collectors, and so going in, the assumption is that we're finding it, we keep it. I do have them every once in a while ask if you know can they see the finds, and of course Mike and I have done this for a long time, and we found about one of everything it seems like, and it just sits there on the shelves at home. So if I had to give something away, it really wouldn't be that big a deal. The one thing that would bug me would be Tootsie Toys because I have a collection, and those are the things I really enjoy collecting. I'd give a dime, I'd give a Indian, whatever. The Tootsie Toys I really like to keep.
Hmm. Yeah, I can understand that. That's what you collect. So, yeah. All righty. And as I'm going down my list here, brings us to the next question. Would you rather dig an old coin or a relic?
Oh, I'm a coin shooter at heart. I wouldn't mind if that coin was in an old inkwell or something, though. That'd be cool too.
Yeah, something different.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now,
So,
I've always liked the coins, most of the time because they're dated. And so there's no guesswork on to how old they are. Um, when I find an old coin, it can put me in a time, and I don't know why I always feel like every old coin I found was lost by a kid, but I do. That's what I envision. And I always think about that Indian head penny and how much candy that could have bought that kid, and how upset he might have been. And and you find that dime, and you go, oh man, he got whooped when he got home. There was a loaf of bread or two.
yes, absolutely. So, what is the oldest coin you found?
Well, it had been from England. What was it? 1284 Edward III halfpenny, I believe, is my oldest coin. Now, Mikey got a 450 AD Roman gold last time we went to show off.
So the half-cent shuffle.
Yeah, and we found that. I found my oldest U.S. I guess would have been no, it wouldn't have been. It wouldn't have been that half cent. We went out to Ohio one time, and I found a 1787 over 8 large cent. And so my oldest coin here would have been a 1780 Spanish real that I dug actually here in Springfield, of all places. But that'd be my oldest silver, not in England.
So what's this story I hear about, Dancing with the Stars to a half cent or something like that?
When we went out and hunted with Jason Quarter Hoarder on YouTube, and Paul and Charlie and Doug, and I mean we just had a blast out there. Of course, that whole crew, it's just fun. And so we that's one thing I told them going out, because Jason asked me, he said, "What's the one coin you want to find?" And I said, "Well, I would love to find a half cent, because I'll never find a half cent back where we live. I didn't feel." And that was one thing he said. And I told him, I said, "Well, if I find a half cent, because I'll do the half cent dance." And so anyway, I totally forgot about that. And then after I found it, I guess Jason got to talking with Doug or somebody, or maybe, who was it? Paul. Mm-hmm. And so they called me out, and I had to do my half cent dance. And then Mikey found a half cent as well. So we made Mikey do the half cent dance.
Yeah. Nice. So the oldest U.S. silver you found was how old?
U.S. was the
8.
You found a silver half or dime, remember?
1850.
Older than that.
Oh, yeah, it's probably 1840 or 1841. No, I found a cat bus dime, 1833 or 34. So that'd be my oldest.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd think I'd remember stuff like that more.
Well, I remember my oldest U.S. silver because they were all 3 half dimes, and it was a 31, 32, and 33.
Oh, cool.
I got one of each.
Oh, that's nice.
But no dimes, no bust quarters or anything. But still, it's nice when you find those.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting it. We were hunting a Civil War camp, and we had dug. Mike had dug a half dime. I had dug a seated dime. Zach had dug a half dime. I don't know. We were popping them everywhere. And this day we were out, it was like 104 degrees. It was so hot. And so we were taking lots of breaks. And I got up, and I was swinging my GPX, which is pulse induction machine. And I took a few steps out, and there was an underground trunk line that went through this field. And so you couldn't get super close to it. Well, I'd always avoided it. And so I told Chris Heimsoff, a buddy of ours who we were hunting with, I said, I'm going to kind of go sideways and just kind of sidle up to that and see how close I can get with my power settings. And I popped up a silver, and they came. I had no clue what it was. Of course, I don't see good, sweat all in my eyes, but it wound up being a cat bus dime. And so it was something every one of us had walked over probably 10 times, but none of us had really swung there because it was so close to that trunk line that it just messed up your machine. So
Absolutely. Well, I guess I got a question somebody just wrote in. Crystal Jenser's asking, how did you pick your name? Plugmaster, I guess.
Okay, uh, so I was down. We have two houses. Well, the house we live in, and then we have a little. It's a rock house that was built early 1900s on our property. My daughter lives in it now. My 25-year-old daughter, soon to be 26. She lives in it now. But I was down there with the CTX, or no, with the AT. No, it was a CTX. I was down there and I was just messing around with the and just working on learning the machine and so I got down and I cut a big plug because I had iron in with the signal, but I also had what I thought was probably a penny signal as well. So I cut the plug real big and I flip it over and I'm messing around and sure enough pull out a couple nails, and then I did wind up pulling out a wheat penny. And so my children come down. Denton, he's my 23-year-old now, he just turned 24. Back when he was younger, he came down with my son Drake, and I flipped the plug back over, and he looked at it and he goes, "Man, you can't even tell you were there." And of course, I'm kind of a smart aleck anyway, and I looked at him and I go, "That's because I'm a plug master." And he goes, "PLUGMASTER FORD." And I went, "I like that." And so whenever I went to do my channel, I thought, PLUGMASTER FORD, why not? So
Why not? Perfect.
I never expected anyone to watch, so except for my kids.
Looks like everybody watches it now. So, awesome. Plugmaster Ford. All right. And Crystal also asked, how do you research where you're going to hunt?
Okay, well, we probably don't go as deep into it as we should, and probably because we don't feel that. I mean, there's times when we get to places where we wish we'd have done more research, but basically what Mike and I do is we study maps. We have a size, a town size that we do really good in, and not only in permissions, but in fines. And so we kind of focus on that size of a town. And so basically it starts with Google Maps. We scan the area, and Mike and I both do it, and we're texting each other at night and here, take a look at this town, take a look at this town. So we take that town, we'll Wikipedia it, and we're looking at the history and we're looking to see how old the town is. And so that's a starting point for us. And then I always drop down to demographics, and around our area you can't get much further than 1890 on the demographics, but what that demographics number will give you is the total people that were in the town at that time. And so say a town has 5,000 people in it, and in 1870 it had 1,000 people in it. So we've kind of came up with a formula of a half and a half, and so which is just hillbilly goofy stuff. But I look at it as this way. Okay, so if there's 1,000 people, and let's say 4 to a household, so we're looking at 250 houses is what I'm guessing, what we would call rock jobs, which is a rock foundation, which is pre-1900 where we live. That's kind of what we look for. So there, we'll say there's 250 back then. Let's say, just over the years, half of those are gone. We're stuck with 100 and a quarter, and then we cut that in half again, and so we should have 67, 68 old homes still left in this town of 5,000, and that's what we go to look for. And so pretty much that's what we do. We have friends that will do a lot of, and Mikey does this sometimes too. And of course, I have 7 kids. I don't have time to do a whole lot of researching, but Mikey will get on and he'll do Street View and he'll drive. And, of course, we both know what we like, and the bigger the yard, the better, especially if it's coupled with an older home. And so we don't set anything up. When we go, we have 0 permissions, and we pretty much kill, we eat what we kill, and that's the way we do it. And I know a lot of people want something set up before they drive 3 hours, and we've never had a problem. We've never been anywhere that we didn't at least get to hunt one house.
Oh, yeah.
So
Nice.
we don't give up too easy either.
Yeah. So you just go there and start knocking on doors.
Yeah, we wait till about 9:15. We don't ever want to wake people up. We have before, but they should be up by 9:15, in my opinion. And but we do. We'll start at 9:15, and we'll just honestly we just keep going until we can't stand anymore, or can't get back up, or we both kind of know each other. And I can tell if I look over and Mike's been down on the same hole for 30 minutes, it's about time to quit.
Yeah. And the good thing is that if somebody didn't go to that one, you go to the next house.
Yeah.
If you don't find one, you go to the next one.
Yeah.
And there'll be another one, and there'll be another one, and you just keep going.
And some of the ones we've had the best luck at are ones that were just recently hunted. I don't know why that is. But anytime we knock a door and they go, well, it was just hunted a month ago, we're like, all right. We get excited about that, because a lot of the targets we like, which are, your Indian head pennies, your V nickels, your buffalo nickels, a lot of those targets aren't super desirable for a lot of people, because it could be a zinc penny, it could be a pull tab. But, we're pretty in tune with our machines, and I don't mind digging a pull tab every once in a while. I don't like digging lots of them, but every once in a while is okay, as long as I'm pulling those old nickels. And so, that's one thing we enjoy and it's a challenge too. We've hunted a lot, and anything to make it more fun, we enjoy. And that's, our whole Weedy King game that we did, we really do compete. It's not just he wants to beat me and I want to beat him. And we started that because we didn't want to compete on something that, like silvers, because we both want each other to find silvers. And same with Indians. We never set it as the ultimate thing to find. We thought wheat pennies, we always find wheat pennies. Let's start having a competition. And so that's just a fun side game that we do, but both of us do want to win.
And don't you think like we've been at least 1,000 houses?
Oh yeah,
that's
what Mike is saying. We figured it up one day. I think it's closer to, we've hunted at least 2,000 houses in the 6 years that we've been doing this.
That's a lot of houses. Some days, four times.
Well, we've hit 9 and 10 houses in a day before.
Oh, geez.
So it's just, you hit it and you can tell pretty quick whether it's going to be any good. And that's another thing that a lot of people overlook are small yards. And Mike used to be that way. Mike always wanted the big corner lot when we first started hunting together. And it is a lot of work to, get geared up, go out there to split a small yard and then to be done with it. But we went and, we hunted one, I remember, and I found 2 silvers. I found a silver ring. We went out in the back and found all kinds of tokens and everything. But small yards, everything is concentrated. They use the yard probably as much as the larger yards, but there's just, everything's more concentrated, including trash, though.
Yeah.
I would tell people not to overlook the small yards because they can be loaded.
What do you consider a small yard size?
Oh, I would probably say 4. Well, I have pretty big passes because I'm taller and I have longer arms, but I would say probably about 6 passes would be, let's see, no, probably about 5 passes, down and back and down. That would be a half a yard, because we always split the yard right down the middle, however we can do it. And so I would say that would be a small yard, one that, you're not going to spend a whole lot of time at.
So like a lot size of 50 by 100 or 50?
Yeah, probably so. Well, a lot of it, and see, that's one thing that we run into here. The older the towns that we go to, the less front yard they'll have, because they built them closer to the street back then, which I don't blame them. They probably didn't have lawnmowers back then to get rid of the lawn. But um, and when we get into areas like that, we just go to the country, and that's where we like to hunt, the old farmhouses and things like that. But um, yeah, you know, there's a lot of them that you just sit there and you go, man, I'd love to spend time in their backyard, but it's kind of like a fortress to get back there with the way a lot of those older towns are set up. And we get that when we go up north around the Missouri River. And I mean, if you look at it, when we're in England, that's kind of the way they are over there. There's no yards really. Yeah, the building is set pretty much right up to the road, and so I think a lot of that was carried over with the settlers, when they came over and in the 1700s and things like that, and 1800s, and that was just kind of the way they did it in those older settlements because that's the way it had always been done.
All right. Well, Mark Hoover was asking, have you been back to where you found the silver hoard?
We have not. Wes and I have been discussing that, and that is something that we are toying with. I want to go into it with a different technology. I'll just say that. And so we feel like the only way we could revisit the place is if we had a different game plan going in with the owner. The owner was fantastic through it all, but when it was time to be done, and I can totally understand. I mean, we stretched it out for about 6 weeks of digging every weekend and some pretty big holes, as you saw if you saw the videos. And so it was time for us to end, and we knew it was time for us to end. And of course, we had told him going in that when we were finished, it would be prepared and ready for planting. And that was one of his biggest things. That whole place where we were is loaded with crabgrass, and he wanted rid of all the crabgrass. And so we obliged and got rid of a bunch of the crabgrass. And then we did. We rented a soil preparator and soil conditioner, and Wes did all that and got it back. And he was shocked. He said, "Wow, this is better than I would have ever, dreamed it to be." And so, and he planted it, and it looks really good.
And how many silver coins came out of there?
Good gracious, I think 1,927
silver coins.
Yeah, most of them $half. There was a lot of $half.
And why do you think they were all there?
Well, the guy that originally had built this barn or building, it was built in 1932, I believe, or 1934, and he was a known. This is according to the owner of the home. This gentleman was a known coin barrier. He didn't trust the banks, I guess, and that's where he kept his money underground. And I guess a lot of people knew it. Probably didn't know where he did it, but and apparently he forgot where he had buried them. But when that building burned down and they came in with the dozers to haul everything off, is what kind of spread them around. And Wes was in the right place at the right time, and I mean it was something else. I wish I would have recorded the calls from that day.
Okay, cool. Well, let me keep going down my list here because it looks like our time is fleeting here. So, hey, do you ever beach hunt?
I do. I go out. My folks have a place at Sunset Beach, North Carolina. And so we go out there about once a year, and we'll hunt there in Ocean Isle, been down to Myrtle. But, I enjoy it, but I only enjoy it for a couple of days. And then, I get bored with that part of it. Because, I mean, you guys that beach hunt know it's not like yard hunting. When you're yard hunting, you're up and down, up and down, up and down. When you're beach hunting, you're not hitting. Well, of course, I've had really good luck at the beach. Don't get me wrong. I found gold rings and silver rings and silver dimes. I mean, I've had some really good luck at the beach, but I don't know. It's just, and the heat, it's hot too at the beach. So, but I love it for about 2 days of hitting it really hard. And then Of course, it's hard for me to be visiting the beach and not swinging a detector anyway. So that makes it rough on our family vacations.
Yeah, well, when we hit the beach, though, yeah, it's hot, but we're usually neck deep into the Gulf, so
Yeah,
it's a little cooler. And then up and down, up and down. How many times you do that directly depends on how bad your arthritis is.
right, right. Well, out there in North Carolina, from what I understand, you cannot hunt in the water. Uh, it's some strange law, but you cannot be in the water metal detecting.
Huh.
Has something to do with the treasure that's out there from the shipwrecks and it owned by whatever. So
Maybe
But
the
the salvage guys have the rights in
salvage.
certain areas. Yeah, it's like that along the treasure coast too.
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely. Oh, so let me keep going down my list here. How long did it take you to get accustomed to the Amphibio when you changed from the CTX? And what made you want to change from the CTX to the Amphibio?
Well, I still feel like I'm learning the Amphibio every time we go out. And I've used it for quite a while now. The thing that got me, and Mikey and I both use the CTX 3030, and I've loved that machine. I've found some incredible things with that machine. One thing that we did notice in the summers, there were a lot of yards that we would get into, and all we could get was about 4 inches of depth. And that's all the machine would go. It would never go over that. And we were hunting some houses that were built in the 1850s, which for us is really old around here. And so we just got to wondering, I wonder what's causing this. Mike, of course, we're getting ready to go to England and all of that. So Mike gets to watching a lot of these British guys, and a lot of them are using that Amphibio, and they're talking about how deep it is. And he just bought one off of eBay one time. And so I came to pick him up one day, and he said, I got a new machine I'm going to use today. I'm like, what? So it was the Amphibio. And we went up and we were hunting the place, and I was there. We were there probably 10 minutes. I wasn't getting over 4 inches of depth. And I looked at Mike and I go, Mike, are you ready to go? This is one of those yards that, we just can't get any depth in. He kind of looked at me and he goes, I'm digging 8 and 9 inch targets. And I said, what? And he goes, yeah. I said, all right, next time you get a signal, let me know. And so he went over and he got a signal, and he says, this isn't a very good signal, but it is a signal. And I said, all right. So I'm listening. He turns his headphones off where I can hear the machine, and he's just going back and forth with it. And I'm like, yeah, I hear it. It sounds a little scratchy, but I can hear the signal. And so he backed away, and of course I run my, that's a lot of people always go, well, you don't have your CTX set up right. And I'm like, I run it wide open. I hear everything. And so I flipped it over, and got it. I could not even get it to chirp. I couldn't get it to grunt. It didn't make and I had, sensitivity up, and it just wouldn't hit it. Well, I later found out that was one thing with the CTX, that it didn't perform as well in dry conditions or in fluffy soil, like freshly plowed soil. And that was just, you could still find stuff. It just doesn't go as deep as you would like it to. And so a couple times out with Mike and him repeatedly doing that, I watched him dig a Tootsie toy. In fact, it was one that he refurbished, the oldest Tootsie toy either one of us has ever found. And he dug it at about 11 inches. And I'm just sitting there with the standard coil in those conditions. And I would have never hit it with my CTX. And so pretty soon I had my hands on an Amphibio, and really didn't know it very good, but we had a hunt planned with Wes Stringer, the guy with the Silver Horde that we did. And so we were going to go up north and just, spend the weekend, have some, fun hunts, and got up there, and we hunted a yard, and Knucklehead over here, Mikey, gets a coin spill of 2-seated dimes, and then another Queen Victoria, something old. Anyway, it was a great start to the hunt. And then the other permissions we were supposed to have didn't pan out. So we went back to a place that Wes had hunted, many times before. It was a house that was built in 1850, wasn't it? Or 1850 or 1852, with a ginormous yard. And he and his father had hunted it many times, as had other people. But the yard's so big, we thought, let's get after it. And again, I had just gotten this Amphibio, really didn't know much about it. Jason had gotten an Amphibio, and we just kind of compared notes on, setting them up. And I took off, and I wasn't out in that yard probably 15 feet from the truck, and I get a signal. I'm like, well, it's high toning, which I'd forgot I'd set nickels to high tone, but the numbers were low, and I thought, well, I'm going to go ahead and dig. And it was about a 9 or 10-inch coin, and because of the high tone that I heard, I was expecting a penny, and I pulled it out where it was a shield nickel, and I thought, wow, that's a pretty good first start to this yard. And we just kept going and just kept finding stuff. And Wes was swinging the Equinox, and he had hit this yard with the Equinox many times, and I was going just in the heart of it, and I got a good signal, and I wound up digging it, and it was a Barber dime, kind of a 45, and that was what Wes got bothered by that one, because he said, man, I've been through this so many times. And I said, well, it was about 6 inches. It wasn't severely deep. It was on edge. And, I'm kind of a believer at the different angles that you hit it at make a difference too. Maybe because of my arm, I've got monkey arms. I'm 6'6", and I stretch out a long ways when I swing. Maybe I just hit it at the right angle. And so, the Equinox, they're all great machines. I just, from what I have experienced, and I have an Equinox, or I had an Equinox, I've had, all these machines. I have not found a machine except pulse induction that goes deeper than the Amphibio does. I will say that it is a noisy machine, and I tell people that, when they're looking at possibly getting one, I would tell them right out of the chute, if you don't think you can get over the noise, it's not the machine for you, because it makes noises. As one thing, the CTX was quiet. Of course, I had mine wide open, so I heard everything. But you put a little bit of programming on that, and you don't hear anything except the beeps. And that's, it's really easy to get used to. What people don't realize is how much they're missing because of that. Because, anytime you're putting discrimination on a computer, you're slowing the computer down. You're causing it. It's just like the many, if you have a bunch of windows open on your computer at home, it slows down the processor. It slows down the functionality of that computer. And it's the same with metal detectors. They are just computers, and they're told to do something, and the more you ask of them to do, the more it bogs them down, and those processors are slow. And so I see people whipping those machines back and forth, and I think, oh man, how long does it take to process that? I mean, I know they're quick, but my goodness, that's, you're really whipping it.
Yeah. Okay, I got a question. Jeff, I noticed you do have a little store that you just recently opened up for gold and silver. Let's talk about that a little bit.
All righty. Well, I did. July 1st of last year, a buddy of mine approached me and just asked, he was wanting to retire, and asked me if I would be interested in purchasing the store from him. And of course, that was the furthest thing from my mind. I had no intentions whatsoever, but with everything going on, and I've always been a stacker anyway, as far as, their stacker, just putting up any extra money that I had, I would put in gold and silver and just keep, that way, as opposed to just keeping it in dollars. And my wife and I, we originally started that because we knew if we had it in dollars, we'd spend it, but if it was in something else, we wouldn't. And so, and of course, we just kept doing that and doing that. Anytime we got extra, I used to flip some houses, and every time we had the extra money, we would just, do something like that. And so he approached me, and it just worked out that I, had a buddy of mine, and we partnered up, and yeah, so I have Patriots gold and silver, in Springfield, Missouri. We also have a rare coin side, which isn't that's not mine. I do a consignment. I don't see good enough to be able to deal with the numismatic side of coins. And so I basically, my shop is bullion as far as what I handle, but there are gentlemen in there that will, look at the coins, tell you what they'll grade. They'll buy them, they sell them. They've got some incredible coins in there. I've held some $10,000 dimes, which is, insane to me. To think, and that's the one thing, I've dug a cat bust dime before and it was slick and ugly, but it's the prettiest thing in the world to me. And then Mike Daw, the guy at my shop, brings in that $10,000 dime, and it's just like, I think it's an MS-68, and that old to be MS-68 is just unbelievable to see things like that. And one thing I really gotten into is the paper money side, the currency side, which I never realized was collected like it is. And it's pretty cool if you go back and study the history of the Federal Reserve notes and the state, the different national banks in, like, we've got a small town of Sarcoxie, Missouri here, which, if you drive by, there's not very many people there. They had their own bank. And I actually saw Mike Daw. He actually had one of those notes that was from the Bank of Sarcoxie, and it was a pretty high dollar note. So, there's a lot of different sides to it. And that's the one thing that's really hard for me. I have a lot of people that come in with their collection that grandpa left or grandma left. And, they, of course, in their mind, they're thinking they're going to be rich. And it's kind of hard because no, those are wheat pennies and they're worth 2 cents a piece, unless they're a key date. And so, you have to break it to a lot of people that, oh, well, they're not really, that valuable. And so, but every once in a while you do get one that comes in that you go, wow, that's a nice coin.
Yeah. Now, do you have a website for the store?
We don't have one up yet. I'll be honest with you. Of course, with everything going on with the election, that store has been absolutely insane. And we have not had time we have the domain name. It's just haven't had time at all. So I have a Facebook group or a Facebook page, which you can just look for Patriots Gold and Silver. And I update it every once in a while, but it's got the phone number there. And honestly, I'm surprised. I get a lot of subscribers to the YouTube channel that, if they're coming through going to Branson or something like that, which is just 30 minutes down the road from us, they'll stop in. And that's really fun. And Mikey's been there a lot of times, and we've got to meet, a bunch of people. And they're always shocked when we go, oh, yeah, we've hunted up in your hometown, and we travel a lot. And so there's a pretty good chance we've hunted in a lot of these people's towns. But that we always enjoy that, people that have the same passion that we do and the love for treasure hunting. It's fun to have them visit. It's nice to meet people face to face.
Yeah, it sure is. And the thing of it is, we just about run out of time. We got 2 minutes left. You believe we've been chatting for an hour?
It goes too fast. But hey, I got one more question here that somebody had wrote in. Who was the real Weedy King?
Today it was Mikey. 1-0.
1-0.
Yeah, it was an abbreviated day, so I'm going to give him the win. I feel sorry for him. He's been in the hospital so much. I just let him win.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you gave it to him.
Yeah.
Good. Well, so how much time do you say we had left, Jeff?
We have got about 2 minutes.
Okay. Well, why don't I say my thank yous and you introduce who we've got next week?
Okay.
What we got coming up, if you don't mind. But
Sure.
Jeff, I wanted to thank you for coming on with us here today.
I appreciate you guys having me on, and I appreciate everyone watching the channel. And I do apologize that I'm so far behind on videos, but I haven't had time to edit.
Well, that's okay. What editing software do you use?
I use Premiere Elements Pro.
Premiere Elements Pro.
Yeah, Adobe Premiere Elements Pro.
Okay, cool. All righty. Well, I want to thank you for coming on the show with us and thank our many members. I think we've got well over 1,300 on Facebook and probably about that many or more on
YouTube. Not bad for only being not even a year yet. So,
yeah, we just try to educate our members. That's why we wanted to have you on, Jeff. So we appreciate you coming on and helping us.
Not a
And thank
problem.
you, Jeff, and thank you, Jocelyn, for handing me the questions. And Jeff, I'll let you talk. Oh yeah, we're at the magic hour. Tell us who we got next week.
Yep. Next week, we're going to have Debbie Smikowski from Mind Lab. And remember, next week, we are giving away a Mind Lab Vanquish 440. So we've got well over 200 entries already. So if you haven't gotten entered, if you're on Facebook, make sure you get entered with that. If you're on YouTube, you got to join Treasure Talk YouTube. There's a video up to enter. It tells you how to do it. You got to be a member. You got to be tuned in to win. You might win a Vanquish 440. Mr. Ford, we appreciate you so much. We're very, very happy that Mikey is out rocking and socking and getting ready to go. And everything's looking good in the neighborhood up there in Missouri. Good luck with the store. Find us some gold, will you?
Will do.
All righty. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
We'll see you guys. Dig deeper and have fun hunting.
All righty. Bye-bye.
We'll see you.
Bye-bye.